if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow. Ask me how we got here, 'cause you don't know how. You say we're taking on water, yeah, we're sinking now. You're looking all concerned, like we're gonna drown. But we both know how to swim, no worries as we'll find out. Let's take it slow, where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow.
What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for the return of a very popular series, The Transfer Show, with yours truly, JSGC. We're back with episode number 1. Going to be running weekly throughout the whole of the summer transfer window. So if you want to stay up to date every single week with my live show, make sure that you've subscribed and get your thoughts as well in the live chat as well. Today's topic of conversation, we're going to be speaking about goalkeepers at Manchester City, because it's been very interesting this week with what's been happening with Stephan Ortega Moreno and also with Ederson. And of course, we've seen Ortega sign a new contract at Manchester City, which I think is brilliant news, and because of that, it's now casting doubt on the future of Ederson. So today we're going to be speaking about some goalkeepers that Man City maybe could make a move for, what they could bring to City, and also discussing potentially what Manchester City could do to try and get a good fee for Ederson as well, should he decide to leave. He could sign a new contract, which does kind of make today's video a little bit redundant, but fun and games of the transfer market. So if you haven't already, do subscribe to my channel. That would be much appreciated. We're on that push now to 40,000 subscribers, making really good gains on 36,000 subscribers. So if we could hit that ASAP, that would be brilliant. Also, don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the live chat. I'll go through the live chat in just one moment. Alternatively, if you're watching this after the live stream has ended, then just in the comments below, leave in the comments who you want Man City to sign should Ederson leave this summer. Also, don't forget as well to go and check out my social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And finally, do leave a thumbs up. That would be absolutely brilliant. So just heading to the chat before we start speaking about goalkeepers. We've got Shardin. Thank you very much. Welcome. Much appreciated. We've got Chimobi as well. Thank you for tuning in, my friend. Thank you. Much appreciated. Emma as well, thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Says that Manchester City has to sign the best goalkeeper, and says City got to go and sign the best new players for this season as well. And that's so important, because you get to the top, you don't want to just sit on being the best team, because everybody else is going to be playing catch up, and it only takes one of the or two of the top sides, so a Liverpool or Arsenal, to go out there and spend some money and bring in one or two world-class players, and all of a sudden Manchester City then fall behind them. And I think that's something City have done very well under Chicky, is making sure that we're keeping the squad nice and fresh. When it's players' time to leave, it's their time to leave, and Man City make sure that they give themselves some time to not only find adequate replacements, but find players who can offer something a little bit different to the squad. And you've got such an adaptable manager in Pep Guardiola as well. I think that it really does help Manchester City to become even better. Maxwell, thanks for tuning in. Says Bart Verbruggen. We'll have a look at Verbruggen. Leave that in the chat when I start speaking about goalkeepers, and I'll go through and have a look at some of the players, and I'll give some of my thoughts on that. But thank you, Maxwell. Thanks for tuning in. Alec as well. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Alternative, thanks for tuning in as well. Loving the microphone. Thank you very much. Much appreciated as well. Brian, thanks for tuning in. Says Costa. We'll speak more about Diogo Costa. Said he'll be a good young goalkeeper for the next 10 years. It's all about investment, isn't it? Asander, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Pez as well. thanks for tuning in, says Donnarumma, whereas Maxwell disagrees, saying, not Donnarumma. Yashin, thanks for tuning in, says we need to be making a move for Rafael Leao as Real Madrid have got Mbappe. Yeah, if you've been living on a rock, Real Madrid, of course, surprise, surprise, signed Kylian Mbappe from Paris Saint-Germain on a free transfer. Got a pretty formidable attacking line now. Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. as well. It's a scary looking attack there, but I'm confident that Manchester City, when it comes to European pedigree, can assert ourselves, because we weren't too far away. We were clinical in front of goal in their match against Real Madrid at the Etihad. Would have knocked them out. So we'll see. It could be a case where Real Madrid are just signing too many world-class players and it's so difficult to gel them together. And I think Alec makes a real good point there about Gareth Southgate. With England, it's a great example of England having some fantastic players. Have you got a manager who knows how to manage these world-class players and make them work as a team? Because at the moment, I feel like England are just being held back by their manager. We know the defence of England isn't very good, so why are England playing a negative defensive formation? Why are they set up to be just so boring and just passing the ball and knocking the ball around with no real directness, no real objective, no creativity there? It's just... Gareth Southgate just doesn't know how to get the very best out of England's best players, your Phil Fodens, your Bukayo Sakas, your Harry Kanes, your Jude Bellinghams. He's no idea, and I'm telling you right now, European Championships, it will be exposed. Everyone keeps saying defence is England's weak point. I personally feel England's weak point is Gareth Southgate. All the flaws for England were on show at Wembley against Iceland, and right now, Serbia, Denmark, England's next couple of games in the European Championships, they'll be rubbing their hands at playing England. Anyway, we'll speak more about England once we get into the European Championships, because you can only really judge once you start to get underway with these international tournaments. Riddle, thanks for tuning in. We'll speak more about Mike Maignan in just one moment. Lloyd, thanks for tuning in as well, much appreciated. Myth, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. We will speak about the distribution, because some people have been quite concerned by it. Some people have said it's very good. Don, thanks for tuning in, says he would like to see Manchester City keep both goalkeepers and have them fight for that number one spot. Very much a possibility for Manchester City, that actually. If Ederson decides he doesn't want that move to Saudi Arabia, I can't see him moving anywhere else, which means I can see Manchester City keeping hold of Ederson and having two fantastic world-class goalkeepers going toe-for-toe, which means if any of these players pick up injuries or start to dip in form, then you have got them options there, and it is all about having them options. So let's speak about transfers. So what we've seen in the last week, so how I run this series is I speak about some of the biggest news stories that's happened in the past week. I give my thoughts on that, and then I start to speak about the future and what we could be seeing in the upcoming week. So in the past week, what we've seen is Ortega Moreno sitting down with Manchester City to talk about his future and whether he wants to stay at City and sign a new contract. That new contract offer has been on the table for some time, and Ortega hasn't signed it because he's wanted to sit down with City and talk about his future and what his prospects are of getting regular first team football, which we've now seen him sign. So I presume that Manchester City have said that there is first team opportunities there for Stephan Ortega Moreno. I don't know if we're reading between the lines and getting a 2 + 2 = 4, meaning Ederson's going to leave and Ortega's going to come in as City's number one, or we're getting 2 + 2 = 5, and it means that ultimately Ederson's going to end up staying, and these two goalkeepers, these Goliath goalkeepers, are going to be going toe-for-toe with each other. We'll see what happens. What we've also seen, so City have tied down Stephan Ortega to a year extension. His contract was going to expire next summer of 2025. It's only a 1-year extension, so he's seeing how it goes. He's not committed to an extra 2 or 3 years at Manchester City. It's just a 1-year extension. So it means that he's going to see how things go. And maybe next summer, if he's not getting that regular first team football, Ortega will potentially just walk away from Manchester City. Same can be said with Scott Carson. City just continue to keep a rolling contract going every 12 months there until, what I'm going to presume is going to happen is Scott Carson says, I'm going to retire now, I'm done and dusted with football. But he's earning, what's he earning, like 20, 30,000 pounds a week, and all he does is offer a bit of experience, a bit of banter in the dressing room, and gets paid a whopping amount of money for doing that. And to be honest, I can appreciate that. I want Scott Carson's life getting paid a good amount of money to pretty much do not much other than turn up. I'd be signing them extensions if I was him. I'd just keep it rolling over and rolling over. Why not? So we've tied down third choice keeper. We've tied down second choice keeper for at least another year. We don't have to speak or worry about that. The big question now is Manchester City's number one, Ederson. What is going to happen with his future? He's getting linked with a move. At the moment, it's Al Ittihad over in Saudi Arabia. They're the team showing the most interest. They've been getting linked with joke offers, 40 to 50 million pounds. It's a joke. An absolute joke. You do not sell a brilliant goalkeeper, one of the best in the world, the very best at distribution, for 40 to 50 million pounds to a club who have got an abundance of money. It just does not make sense. These rumours that have come out about 40, 50 million pounds, we need a timeout because I just don't believe that that is true. I can see Manchester City probably, if it was to sell Ederson, I mean, I know he's 30 years old, but goalkeepers, they're like long life milk. They've got a good 10 years left in him. So, to me, you've got to be asking for more money than 40 or 50 million pounds. Man City do not find a suitable replacement for Ederson for that cash. So from net spend point of view, just doesn't make sense for Manchester City. And I imagine that City will be doing everything that they can to try and keep hold of Ederson at the club. Is he going to be here is another matter. You know, Saudi Arabia can offer guaranteed sunshine, nice weather, tax-free money, gets paid a lot of money as well. So we will see what happens with regards to that. As I said, he may just say, I want to be playing at the biggest and best clubs in the world, which is Manchester City, ticking that box, and we're able to keep hold of a fantastic player like Ederson. I hope that is the case. We'll have to wait and see. So for his future, we'll have to see what does happen from there. Ultimately, if City do decide that they want to sell Ederson, and Ederson's decided that he wants to leave, so if that decision does come, I think that's going to come in the next 4 to 8 weeks, so I presume we're looking at some point in July. I don't know if he's going to communicate it once the There we go. Sorry for that. Apologise if it went off. It went off on my end. There was a quick dip in connection, but we are back. Going back to what I was just saying, though, if the Copa America, so that'll end in, we're looking at about 5 weeks' time. I don't know if he's going to communicate before then that he wants to leave Manchester City or wants to stay at Manchester City, or whether City are going to fly out to Brazil with his camp recently before the Copa America starts, or they'll fly out to the Copa America and sit down and speak with Ederson. I imagine when these international tournaments get going, they don't want any distractions, so I don't think it'll be that busy in terms of Ederson and things happening for the next 4 weeks. He's got a good 4 or 5 weeks here to focus on international football and think about his domestic football career and what he wants to do next. Does he want to stay at City? Does he want to move to Saudi Arabia? They are the two situations that Ederson's got to deal with. He'll then go on holiday after the Copa America. That will be for a good 2 or 3 weeks. So that will take us to the end of July before we maybe get a decision from Ederson about what he wants to do. And after that, we then get into August. You're looking at a month left of the transfer window. We are not going to find an adequate replacement for Ederson inside a month, because transfers don't just happen. They take time. City have to scout players. They have to be interested in players. They have to do their homework on players. They have to know how much these players are going to cost. They have to crunch numbers. It has to make sense for financial fair play. It has to make sense for Manchester City in terms of our net spend, because we've been doing it for the last couple of windows. This window's no different. Man City will spend what they make, which means if we sell players, that's what we're going to be using that money to sign and bring players in. So it isn't going to be a case that Man City get a war chest and start spending 2 or 3 £300 million when we're only making £50 to £100 million. It's just not going to be the case. City will wait to see what they sell Ederson for. If they've got money in the kitty to come in and maybe spend a little bit more to get a suitable replacement, then so be it. Man City may just say, do you know what, we're happy to promote Stephan Ortega Moreno, and if that is the case, who are Manchester City going to go out and bring in? Do they want to sign a number one or a number two? Everything is pointing towards, for me anyway, that Manchester City want a first choice goalkeeper, because if it wasn't, and Man City, when they sat down with Stephan Ortega Moreno, reading between the lines and said, you're going to be our new number one because we think Ederson's going to leave, I think Ortega would have signed a 2 or 3 year extension, not 1 year. So I think he's just waiting to see what happens with regards to that and move away from there. So we're faced with a situation, either Ederson stays, or if Ederson goes, we need a new goalkeeper. We will want an answer ASAP. We start getting into August and we're dealing with this. We have to be quick. We don't want to panic buy. Clubs are going to be asking for more money. It becomes even more complicated. So we'll see. What we're going to do now is we're going to speak about if it's option B and Ederson says, I want to leave Manchester City. I want to go and sign for Al Ittihad or another club in Saudi Arabia. First and foremost, if I'm Man City, I mean, get it in the chat, guys. How much would you be asking for Ederson? How much would you sell him for to Saudi Arabia? I think I would personally, if it was up to me, if I was in charge, I'd probably be looking for, 70, maybe £80 million. I know that they've got the money. I know that Manchester City are going to have to go out there and spend big to sign a replacement. Clubs are probably going to ask for 5, 10, 20 million pound more when you know that your goalkeeper's left and you're desperate, you want to bring another goalkeeper in. Comes with a premium. So we want that premium covering from a club in Saudi Arabia. Alternative saying £80 million. Myth saying 60 to 70 million. Shard saying 100 million. MCFR, thanks for tuning in, says 85 million. And well done on hitting 2,000 subscribers as well. Do go and check his channel out, doing some great City content if you want to go and check him out. So to me, I think bare minimum 80 million quid. Got to be £80 million. I think £80 million puts us in a financial position where we've made a good profit on Ederson. It's a good amount of money for a world-class goalkeeper, the very best at distribution as far as I'm concerned. And £80 million probably enough, you would think, for Man City to go out there and bring in a suitable replacement. No problem at all, MCFR. Riddle says he reckons he's worth 90 million, maybe 85 million pounds. MCFR, I agree with that. Anything less than 80 million pounds, and I think words need to be had with Chicky about it, because it's just too little. You're not doing your job properly. And Arjun makes a real good point. Realistically, I mean, we're all talking about fantasy here. We're all talking about how much we would be accepting. I can see if Ederson says he wants to leave and Manchester City saying we're happy to sell you, a player's only worth what a club's willing to pay for him. And if Man City are happy to sell Ederson, then there may be room for negotiation. If there's room for negotiation, then it may well be that money that we're looking at, which would be £50 million, 50 million pounds, which is what the rumours are saying. And Arjun says there, the Saudi clubs are not going to go above, or want to go above, 50 to 60 million pounds. And I think Arjun could be absolutely spot on there. And I suspect Shard Light, there you go, got an ad. Great. Ads are rolling. Much appreciated. Thanks for letting me know. But yeah, I can see Man City accepting less. The problem that I have is I don't think it represents market value, and also I do think that Manchester City will be looking at it and saying we'll want to just sanction a sale as quickly as possible. So if I were Man City, because we can't speak to Ederson and he's not going to decide what he wants to do, what we can do is, we know that Al Ittihad are interested, speak with them and say to them, before Ederson even lets you know a decision, Man City can just sit down with them and say, you're interested in a transfer, you're going to have to speak to Ederson and his camp to get a transfer sorted, but in terms of a fee, we're looking at X amount of money and we're not budging on that. No room for negotiation, Drag your heels. Do what all the other clubs do to Manchester City when we try and sign players. You drag your heels as long as possible to ensure that you're getting a good amount for a player. It's why Man City had to pay a top premium for Jack Grealish. It's why we had to pay a top premium when it came to Joško Gvardiol last summer as well. You've got to have it right when you're selling players. City are brilliant at deciding when the right time is for players to leave. I do think there's room for improvement for City when they're deciding how much they want when it comes to selling our players, because you've got to get a good amount here. Ederson is a world-class keeper. He's our number one. He's our number one. You cannot be selling him for cheap. You will not find a good as a replacement for Ederson for a cheap number. You have to pay top money for a top quality goalkeeper, as far as I'm concerned. So, just using transfermarket.com as my little go-to here, just to have a very quick brief look at the stats, because I think you can overanalyze and have too much of a look at a goalkeeper. So Transfermarket, they're very good because they give you market value for what we're looking at for a player. So it gives us a rough idea about what we're looking at in terms of Ederson and his statistics and what we could demand for him. And it's also great at us having a look at some potential players that City could go out with and potentially sign as well. So just going to get Transfer Market up, and we're going to have a look at that. So, terms of Ederson, here's his Transfer Market. They've got him number 31 for Manchester City. So it's all about age they'll take into matter here. So 30 years old. I mean, in August he turns 31. Don't let that fool you, though, because he is... he's going to have 8 or 9 years left in him, so I don't think that's, too important. You can see about these interested clubs, 41% possibility of transfer to Al Ittihad that we were just speaking about, getting linked with Al Nassr as well. There's a lot of interest coming in for Ederson. So Manchester City, these clubs aren't short of cash. They may not want to pay it, but they do have the cash. And if they want to bring in the biggest and best players in the world, then they're going to have to pay. It's the same with Kevin De Bruyne. He might only have a year left on his contract, but you're talking about signing Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City. You want to make these transfers happen, you're going to have to pay the premium to make that happen. Ederson's a brilliant keeper. 33 appearances for City last season, keeping 13 clean sheets, conceding 27. I think Ederson's probably going to be disappointed that he conceded 27 goals, but 13 clean sheets isn't too bad. Missed 5 Premier League games. He's Man City's first choice keeper. As I said, distribution is absolutely brilliant. Current market value, we're looking at around 35 million euros. That's to do with this right here. You can see his contract expires in 2 summers. So in 2 years' time, Ederson will be a free transfer, which is why Manchester City are not only looking at trying to get Ortega on a new contract, but they're also looking at trying to get Ederson on a new contract as well. And someone like Ederson, I think, would be a brilliant player to get signed onto a new deal. And if I were Manchester City, as Alex, I agree, I think he's a world-class goalkeeper. I don't think there's many upgrades on him, certainly not for an affordable price. So because of that, I'd be offering to try and get him on a new deal. And if he's got 2 years left on his contract, I think I'd be looking at a 2-year extension for him. In terms of his current market value, 35 million euros. Well, there's no chance that Man City are going to be able to get double that amount, so we wouldn't be looking at anything north of 65 million. I mean, if he had 3-4 years left in his contract, we'd be able to sit here and say, actually, we do want these big crazy numbers. But back to what Arjun was saying, whilst we want 60 to 80 million pounds and we can drag our heels in terms of his market value, because Al Ittihad will be well aware of this market value. They'll be saying we're happy to pay his market value of 35 million euros. Maybe they're happy to pay a little bit more. Maybe we're looking at somewhere between 40 to 50 million euros, but I doubt they're going to want to go anywhere above that. And that's where I said City just need to be careful and drag their heels a little bit here and hold firm and get something sorted here. To me, I think it'd make more sense to keep Ederson rather than sell, because you're just not going to get a good amount of money to find that replacement. And if Man City are serious about maybe getting a replacement, maybe just putting Ederson on a 1-year extension, seeing where we go with Stephan Ortega next summer, and then saying to Ederson, right, you've got 2 years left on your contract, we're actively looking over the next 12 months for a goalkeeper, and it gives us a little bit more time. So rather than this summer looking for a goalkeeper, you're looking at either next summer, maybe if you do your business right, could be looking in a couple of summers' time, and it just prepares us a little bit better. But it's all about, do you want to sell a player at the right time, or do you want to give them a couple more years? Man City normally very good at making them decisions, so a big summer coming up for what we want to do with Ederson, and the same can be said with Kevin De Bruyne. And actually, I just want to have a very quick look at what they've got Kevin De Bruyne as his market value actually on Transfer Market. So let's just have a quick look. So Kevin De Bruyne in 19 days turns 33 years old. His contract length up next summer. That's big. Gives us 1 year to go at. San Diego are interested, of course. In California, he's already spoken about them, but there's interest coming in from Saudi Arabia as well. And even, I said Kevin De Bruyne's don't come cheap, still looking at 50 million euros. And if De Bruyne signs a new contract, a 2 or 3 year extension, then it's Kevin De Bruyne, isn't it? You know, it's like fine wine. A slower league like the Saudi League, Kevin De Bruyne would be coming out with 40, 50 assists a season, and he's a massive name, a high-profile player. So, again, just like I said with Ederson, if it comes to the sale of De Bruyne, I'd be dragging my heels for that, is what I would be looking for. Thank you very much to Sean for tuning in, much appreciated. Sergio Gomez, I can see him going, Real Sociedad, they're currently being linked with making a move for him. I do think it's going to be a loan rather than a permanent transfer, but we will see. B, thanks for tuning in. I think you're spot on there. Ederson's top 5 goalkeepers in the world. You don't sell a top 5 goalkeeper in the world for £35 million. It's idiotic. It just doesn't make sense. And if I'm Manchester City, you're doing everything you can to keep hold of Ederson. I think my bigger surprise is Ortega signed a contract this early into the summer, so I'm not too sure what Man City have promised him there, but here we are. Myth, thanks for tuning in. Says, any updates on Julian Alvarez? In my transfer update today, got an update, so I'll give you a quick exclusive on that. Atletico Madrid, their president, has spoken about how difficult it is to sign Julian Alvarez, and he's said basically that transfer isn't going to happen, and it's difficult to sign Julian Alvarez, and he can see him staying at Manchester City. So that's the first goalkeeper done and dusted. So if Ederson does decide to leave, and let's say we manage to get, £50 million, for example, one of the players we've been getting linked with is Maignan over at AC Milan, French goalkeeper. So we're looking at a market value of similar to what Ederson is. Looking at the statistics, Ederson managed to keep 13 clean sheets. Maignan's managed to keep 11 clean sheets in Serie A, so pretty similar. 33 appearances for Ederson, 29 for Maignan. Only difference here is when he has conceded, he's conceded more than Ederson. And I know that there's been some doubt when it comes to his distribution. And Maignan, he's a good goalkeeper. And I'm using that phrase there. The key word is good. I think Ederson's a better goalkeeper. I'd prefer to keep Ederson. I certainly don't think Maignan is a bad goalkeeper, and I think he could do a really good job for Manchester City, of course. Looking at his age, turns 29, so he is younger than Ederson as well. So you could get maybe an extra year or two from him, and I don't think he'd be too expensive. I think if we managed to nab £50 million for Ederson, I think we could be looking at maybe even less than £50 million for Maignan based on these values. And again, he's got 2 years left on his contract, so it leaves very little wiggle room when it comes to negotiations. So I do think that Maignan is a good option for Manchester City to consider. Experienced goalkeeper as well. It'd be very much a case, Ederson leaves, Maignan comes in, we use him as our first choice goalkeeper with Ortega putting the pressure on, basically. Just out of interest, let's just have a quick look at Stephan Ortega Moreno. So let me just share my screen as I've already got that tab up. So let's look at Stephan Ortega. Stephan Ortega, of course, is older than Ederson. He's 31 years old. He turns 32 in November. He's just signed that contract extension at City, so now keeping him here until June 30th of 2026 rather than June 30th of 2025. We signed him for free, by the way, from Bielefeld over in Germany, and of course making that very famous save against Tottenham Hotspur, which virtually handed Man City their history-making fourth Premier League trophy in a row. So Lord Stephan Ortega Moreno should have been given a lifetime contract as far as I'm concerned, just for making that save. So looking at his statistics, 9 appearances, 4 clean sheets in the Premier League for City, with 7 goals conceded. Very much a suitable goalkeeper. Ederson's distribution is better than Ortega's. I think Ortega's distribution is getting better. I think Ortega's reading of the game is very good. I think he has a mistake in him, like Ederson did, like Zach Steffen before him did. All goalkeepers have mistakes, and when you play a high line like City, you make a distribution mistake, it can be absolutely fatal. It's just how the system is. So I think it's unfair to judge Ortega on there. MCFR, 9 million. 9 million. I think it's just to do with his experience. He's a number 2 goalkeeper. You know, if he ends up being Man City's new number 1 at the start of this season, and he does 30 Premier League games, and he ends up keeping north of 10 clean sheets for City, and he signs a contract extension, you know, you still look at an experienced goalkeeper, and you'd see that value skyrocket. I couldn't imagine if City were selling Ortega. Depends on who we were selling him to, I suppose. If it was to another Premier League club, you'd probably be looking for more than double this amount. But if you're selling to, because he was getting linked with a move to Anderlecht, and I couldn't imagine Anderlecht, you know, paying 20-30 million pound for a 31-year-old goalkeeper who turns 32 in 5 months' time. So yeah, I think that's just. I don't know how they decide the market value of these players. Who knows? I'm not too sure, to be honest. Anyway, so that's Stephan Ortega. That's how he compares. The other player that's been getting linked with a move to Manchester City is Diogo Costa over at FC Porto. Now, this would be an expensive signing. So let's have a look at how he's performed over in Portugal. So he's 24 years old. I mean, I feel old. I mean, I'm more than 4 years older than this guy, which just makes me feel really old. So here we are. So in 3 months' time, he turns 25. So you are looking at more than 10 years, really, of the very best out of Diogo Costa. Playing 33 times in Liga Portugal for the upcoming season, conceding just 25 times. Very impressive, and keeping 14 clean sheets. Very impressive, and you can see why there's a lot of interest. I think he's been called up to the Portugal national squad as well. So if there are teams out there looking for the next big goalkeeper coming in from Portugal, and how many times do you see Portugal sell an absolute gem of a player? And I think you're looking at a case here of your next big thing when it comes to a goalkeeper. And I think that if Ederson does leave, I think Diogo Costa would be the goalkeeper I'd like to see Manchester City make a move for. Devious, thanks for tuning in. I think you're absolutely spot on there. Porto have some brilliant players. Sporting Club de Portugal have some very good players as well, as do Benfica. Underrated. They do charge a lot of money though, and that's what I want to speak about, because don't be fooled by this 40 million euro market value, his highest market value at 45 million euro. Don't be fooled by that. FC Porto won't negotiate with Manchester City. It's like how you deal with players being signed from Spain, from La Liga, and the other Spanish leagues below La Liga as well. Players sign contracts and they come with release clauses, and these clubs will always point to these release clauses. João Felix is probably the biggest example that I've got. When he went from Benfica to Atletico Madrid, the interest in him was astronomical. It gives all the power to the selling club, which means if there's a release clause there, they just tap the sign and just say, you want him, you've got to release that clause. He's still got 3 years left in his contract. There's not much room for negotiation. We're not going to be picking him up for €40 million. We're not going to be picking up for a price that's similar to that of Ederson, because I'm almost certain he does have a release clause. I think it's at like 70 or €80 million. Let me just have a look at what his release clause factually is. So we're looking at Diogo Costa release clause from his current contract that he'd signed. So it's been reported by Give Me Sport just last month. You're looking at a release clause of £65 million, which is a whopping amount of money. So don't start having a look at some of these older articles. A new contract has been signed, so you're looking at £65 million, which I think €70 million. So it's a lot of money, and in an ideal world, if we're going to spend £64 million on a goalkeeper, then I would prefer for us to be selling Ederson for that price. And I'm not entirely convinced that Man City will be able to get that much money for Ederson with the length that he's got on his contract, and also his willingness to leave City, and there's no release clause, and who we're selling to as well. So very interesting. I think them two goalkeepers are two goalkeepers that I'm earmarking as players I'd like to see City maybe make a move for. One player you're looking at, one for the future, next big thing, pay a lot of money for, in the form of Diogo Costa. I think you're looking at experience with Maignan if you want to bring a player in who's capable of coming in and providing a quality goalkeeper who can provide good competition with Stephan Ortega, and you can make your assessments from there. So we will see. Arjun has been spot on in this stream. Shout out to Arjun. So £50 million for Ederson, £65 million for Costa. You're looking at a net spend there difference of £15 million. Man City could make £15 million just off the sell-on fees that have been included on some of the transfer deals. James Trafford currently being linked with a £30 million move to Chelsea from Burnley, who have been relegated. We sold him to Burnley for £19 million last summer. 20% sell-on fee on any money over £19 million, so it would be an £11 million profit for Burnley, which means Manchester City would get 20% of that, which works out at just over £2 million. There's many sell-on fees included for a lot of players out there that Man City could make that money back. We will be selling other players as well, fringe players, young players, so there will be the potential here that City can make that money back and more when it comes to net spend. So it is a doable transfer, very much a doable transfer. Release clauses, release clause FC, it becomes easier for Man City to make it happen. Are we going to want to do it? Do you want experience? Do you want the next big thing? Do you want a Premier League experienced goalkeeper? Where do you go? What do you do? To me, I think the easiest and most sensible option is to not cash our chips in, stick with what we've got. We've got our second choice keeper on a new deal. We've got our third choice keeper on a new deal. Try and get our first choice keeper on a new deal as well. And the same is going to be said for Julian Alvarez as well. We could go out there and sign another player, maybe a little bit more versatile than Julian Alvarez, a player that could maybe play out wide in the number 9 as the leading striker, as a player who's maybe happy to drop deeper and play behind the striker in attacking midfield. But signing these players, these versatile players, they cost a lot of money. So are you best just sticking with what you know and how good you are? And at the moment, Man City are a very good side. We don't win Premier League without being a very good side. We've got players here who are maybe thinking about leaving. Could we do a little bit more to keep them here? 100%. And I think you're looking at some high-class players, Ederson, Alvarez. I want to see them on new contracts. I think there's gaps in City's squad elsewhere that you could maybe have a look at. Kyle Walker, getting no younger, signed a new contract with City last summer. maybe you could look to maybe try and exploit some of his market value and sell him and maybe bring somebody in who's a little bit younger, start thinking long term. Same's going to be said about De Bruyne. If we don't address it this summer, it's got to be addressed next summer. His contract's up next summer. Pep Guardiola's contract's up next summer. Man City could be found guilty of the 115 charges. Next summer could be brutal. This upcoming season could be brutal as well. So Man City have a lot to think about, and if City are concerned about what they're going to do with their squad, or players are concerned about joining Manchester City, then surely it'd make more sense for Man City to stick with what we've got and just try and freshen up in areas that they think just needs extra pace, extra legs, or a younger player bringing in. Something that we did last summer was very good was Joško Gvardiol, and identifying, do we need a centre-back? Do we need a left-sided defender? Not really, but he's versatile and he can offer something a little bit different. So go in and sign him and make use of him. And it could be the same with someone like Jeremy Frimpong. £34 million release clause. I'd be activating that today if I was in charge at Manchester City, and I'd be saying, here you go, homegrown player, homegrown by Manchester City, the space in the squad, in he goes, 34 million quid, you can't go wrong. Can bomb up and down on that right hand side, gives Kyle Walker competitive competition as well, and it allows Rico Lewis to potentially go out on loan and get some more first team football, which is what he's actively seeking to do. Same with Sergio Gomez. So you need that depth, you need that balance. Very interesting summer. I'm, of course, going to be keeping you guys up to date every single day with all the latest Manchester City transfer news. So if you haven't already, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Press that red button, press the bell, and put your push notifications on. Also, don't forget social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up. What are we on right now whilst we're live? Doing very well, over 50 likes. That's brilliant. Let's go for 200 likes. Any help towards that would be great. And also don't forget, get your thoughts in the comments below or in the live chat. And finally, bow down to you guys, absolute legends, making it a brilliant stream. So thank you so much for taking the time out to get your thoughts in the live chat, interact with me, watching with me as well, because it's you guys that make the show, so it's brilliant to be able to interact with you guys and speak about transfers. And I'm sure when I'm back for episode number 2 next week, there'll be even more interesting things happening, so we will see. I'm thinking potentially episode 2 Friday, before the European Championships get underway with Germany taking on Scotland. So I'm thinking next Friday, episode 2 of the transfer show. I'll see you live for that. Stay up to date with all the City transfer content with my daily transfer updates, and you don't have to worry, there will be another episode out in the next maybe hour and 20 minutes where I'm going to speak more about some ins, because Sam Lee's given some big updates, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you then. Thank you everybody for watching in, much appreciated. Shard asking the big question based on that performance against Iceland. I think your lol sums it up there. Is it coming home? At the moment, I'll be surprised if England make it out of the group stage. I'm concerned right now that we're not going to beat Serbia. We're going to lose to Denmark, and it's all going to be doom and gloom. What great preparation it was. We actually got a send-off to go to Germany for a major tournament that we're one of the favourites for. You'd be expecting England minimum semi-final, and they got booed off the pitch at Wembley on Friday. That's their greeting to get out the country and get over to Germany. It's got to be a really good performance and a good result from England on next Sunday in the match against Serbia. So lots to look forward to. I have done my European Championship prediction out on the JSGC football channel. Links in the description if you want to go and follow me on there. That would be much appreciated. Shard getting out an early prediction, reckons Spain winning the Euros with Rodrigo. That would be brilliant. I can't see past France winning the European Championships. And MCFR says, I've been Southgate out for 3 years. He's still not gone. I think near enough everybody's Southgate out. We know where the limitations are. I think this will be his last tournament, if I'm being honest. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated. I'll see you Friday for episode 2. Stay tuned later on today for my daily Manchester City transfer update. Take it easy. Have a great rest of your weekend. I've been JSGC with the transfer show. Peace. Ciao for now.